Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the British Accent Podcast, the show where we explore interesting ideas, stories, and little curiosities from around the world, in clear and simple English. I'm your host, Robert, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. Now, this is episode 6. If you've missed any of our previous episodes, feel free to check them out after this one. We've talked about everything from space travel to music history, and today, we're going into something a bit more human. Something we all do, without even noticing. So, here's today's topic. Body language. What are we really saying without words? Have you ever felt like someone was angry at you, but they didn't say a single word? Or maybe you noticed someone smiling, but their eyes didn't match the smile? That's body language in action. Body language is the silent language we all speak. It includes our posture, facial expressions, gestures, even how close we stand to each other. And according to some studies, about 60 to 90% of our communication is non-verbal. That's more than actual words. Think about it. You can say I'm fine, but your body might tell a different story. Maybe your shoulders are tight, you're avoiding eye contact, or you're sighing a lot. Other people pick up on these signals, even if they don't realize it. So today, we're going to explore how this mysterious language works. We'll look at types of body language, how it changes between cultures, how to read people better, and even how you can become more aware of your own signals. It's like becoming a mini mind reader. But first, let's take a closer look at the different types of body language. Alright, let's dive into some of the main types of body language. These are the signals we use every day, even when we're not thinking about them. Let's start with one of the most obvious. 1. Facial expressions. Our faces are incredibly expressive. We can show happiness, sadness, anger, surprise, fear, all without saying a word. And what's amazing is that some expressions, like smiling or frowning, are universal. No matter where you go in the world, a smile means friendliness. But not everything is the same across cultures. For example, in some countries, people may smile even when they're nervous, while in others, smiling too much might seem fake. We'll get to cultural differences later, but it's good to keep that in mind. 2. Posture. How you sit or stand says a lot about your confidence, mood, and even your role in a situation. Standing up straight with your shoulders back shows confidence. Slouching, on the other hand, might suggest tiredness or low energy, or even boredom. 3. Gestures. Waving, pointing, giving a thumbs up, these are all gestures. They're powerful and often used with speech. But be careful, gestures can mean very different things in different countries. A thumbs up is positive in many places, but in some cultures, it can be rude. 4. Eye contact. Looking someone in the eye shows confidence and interest, right? Well, usually. In Western cultures, eye contact is seen as a sign of honesty and attention. But in some parts of Asia or the Middle East, too much eye contact can feel disrespectful or aggressive. So this one really depends on context. 5. Proximity, personal space. How close we stand to someone also sends a message. In some cultures, standing close is normal and friendly, in others, it's uncomfortable. You've probably noticed that with strangers, we tend to leave more space. But with friends, we stand much closer. That's personal space in action. Now here's where things get really interesting, how different cultures use body language. You see, not all gestures and movements mean the same thing around the world. Something that's polite in one country might be offensive in another, and that can lead to some awkward moments. Let's explore a few examples. The OK sign, forming a circle with your thumb and index finger, means everything's fine in many English-speaking countries. But in parts of Brazil or Turkey, it can be considered very rude. Nodding and shaking your head, in most places, nodding means yes, and shaking means no. But in Bulgaria, it's the opposite. People nod for no and shake their head for yes. Imagine how confusing that could be. Eye contact, in Western cultures, like the US or the UK, eye contact is a sign of confidence and honesty. But in Japan or South Korea, too much eye contact might seem disrespectful or aggressive, especially when talking to someone older or in a higher position. Touch and personal space. In Middle Eastern cultures, physical closeness is more common. It shows warmth and trust. You might see friends of the same gender holding hands while walking, and that's completely normal. But in Northern Europe, like Germany or Sweden, people prefer more personal space and less physical contact. Even handshakes might be more formal. Smiling and facial expressions. In the West, we often smile at strangers. It's a friendly gesture. But in Russia, for example, smiling at people you don't know can be seen as strange or suspicious. People smile more in private or when there's a good reason. Because understanding body language, especially across cultures, helps us avoid misunderstandings. It shows respect. And it makes communication much clearer and more effective. And in a world where we're more connected than ever, being aware of these differences is more important than ever before. Public speaking can be nerve-wracking, but mastering your body language can truly transform your presence on stage. It's not just about what you say, it's how you move, how you stand, and how you engage your audience without uttering a word. Let's start with posture. Standing tall with your shoulders back sends a clear message: confidence, clarity, and authority. Slouching, on the other hand, can make you seem unsure or disinterested, not the impression you want to give when presenting your ideas. Next, think about eye contact. This is a powerful way to connect with your audience. When you look at individuals, not just glance at the back wall, people feel included. It builds trust and keeps them engaged. Gestures are another key tool. Natural hand movements can emphasize your points and keep your energy dynamic. But be careful, repetitive or overly dramatic gestures can distract from your message. Keep it meaningful and fluid. Don't forget your facial expressions. A warm smile at the beginning, a look of enthusiasm when making a point, these all contribute to your message. A flat or overly serious expression throughout might make your talk feel distant or robotic. Lastly, movement on stage. Use the space wisely, take a few steps as you transition between ideas or address different parts of your audience. Just don't pace back and forth aimlessly, as that can appear anxious or unfocused. So remember, posture, eye contact, gestures, facial expressions, and stage movement, these are your silent partners when speaking in public. Mastering them can help you deliver not just a good speech, but a memorable one. Moving into the body language in job interviews. Job interviews are high-stakes situations where your words matter, but your body language can often say even more. Let's begin with the handshake. A firm, but not crushing, handshake is your first impression. It conveys confidence and professionalism. A limp or overly aggressive grip might send the wrong message before you even speak. Posture plays a key role too. Sit upright, slightly leaning forward, it shows attentiveness and engagement. Avoid slouching or folding your arms, these can be interpreted as disinterest or defensiveness. When it comes to eye contact, it's all about balance. Maintain consistent eye contact to show you're confident and focused, but don't stare, you don't want to come off as intense or uncomfortable. It's okay to glance away occasionally, especially when thinking. Facial expressions are especially important in interviews. A genuine smile can break the ice and help build rapport. Show your reactions when the interview shares something, nodding, a surprised expression, or a light laugh when appropriate, all show you're human, present, and responsive. Hand gestures should be controlled and intentional. Using your hands when explaining something can add clarity, but avoid fidgeting with objects or tapping the table, it can make you seem nervous. Finally, your entrance and exit are as important as your answers. Walk in with purpose, greet the interview confidently, and leave with a polite smile and thank you. These small cues help round out your entire presentation. In short, from your handshake to your goodbye, your body speaks volumes. Make sure it tells the story of someone prepared, confident, and ready for the job. So, after this journey into the world of body language, what can we take away from all of this? First, awareness is key. Whether you're giving a presentation, meeting someone new, or traveling abroad, start paying attention to how people use their bodies, not just their words. Second, remember that consistency matters. Your facial expressions, gestures, tone, and posture should all match what you're saying. If you're telling someone you're excited but your body looks tense or closed off, the message won't land. Third, when you're unsure, observe and mirror. Notice how people around you behave, how close they stand, how they greet each other, what gestures they use. Subtly mirroring someone's body language, without mocking them, of course, can help build connection. Fourth, don't be afraid to ask or clarify when you're in a new culture. Most people appreciate the effort and are happy to explain what's normal in their country. And finally, practice. You don't need to be an expert overnight, but small improvements in your posture, gestures, and expressions can change the way people perceive you and how confident you feel. Remember, communication is more than words, it's a full body experience.
Cinema Talks?
Welcome back to Cinema Talks. In this part of the podcast, we always take a short break from the main topic to talk about a movie that caught our attention recently. And this time, I've got something truly powerful for you. The film I want to talk about today is The King's Speech. A deeply inspiring movie that actually ties beautifully into our episode about communication and body language. It's based on the true story of King George VI, who struggled with a stammer during a time when public speaking was not just ceremonial, but essential. With the help of an unorthodox speech therapist, Lionel Logue, the king embarks on a journey to overcome his speech difficulties and eventually deliver one of the most important radio speeches in British history, the Declaration of War on Nazi Germany in 1939. What makes this film special is how it shows non-verbal communication at its most raw and vulnerable. You can see the king's nervous tics, posture, eye movements, all the signs of someone who doesn't feel in control of his voice or image. And then, as he grows in confidence, his body language begins to shift. It's a brilliant reminder that communication is not about perfection, it's about presence, effort, and connection. I highly recommend watching it. Not only is it emotionally powerful, but it's also beautifully acted by Colin Firth, who won an Oscar for his role. And now let's welcome Sophie. Hi Sophie, it's your turn. What movie did you choose for today?
Thanks, Robert. That was such a brilliant choice. The King's Speech always gives me chills, especially that final broadcast scene. Now, let me take you in a different direction. The movie I've chosen for today is The Imitation Game, starring Benedict Cumberbatch as Alan Turing, the man behind the machine that helped crack the German Enigma code during World War II. What makes this film especially powerful is how it explores unspoken communication. Turing is portrayed as a socially awkward genius, someone who struggles to connect with others in the traditional sense. But his mind communicates through puzzles, logic, and quiet persistence. His body language is stiff, guarded, and yet deeply expressive in its own way. There's a scene where he silently stares at the machine he built, knowing it works, and in that moment, there are no words, but the tension, the hope, and the triumph are all visible in his face and posture. That's communication too, not with speeches or gestures, but with purpose. The film also touches on how society often fails to understand those who don't communicate normally, and I think that's such a relevant message, especially in today's world where communication is evolving far beyond words. So if you're into emotional storytelling, brilliant acting, and themes that stretch beyond the screen, The Imitation Game is a must-watch. Let us know in the comments, have you seen either of these films? Or maybe you have a movie to recommend that really touched you through powerful communication. We'd love to hear from you. Words of Wisdom.
Alright, it's time for our words of wisdom, the part of the show where we reflect on a powerful quote that connects with the theme of our episode. Today's quote is, "The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said." Peter Drucker. This quote really hits home after our deep dive into how humans express and interpret messages, not just through words, but through gestures, facial expressions, silence, music, and even the arts. Sometimes, the most meaningful parts of a conversation are not what's spoken out loud, but what's understood. A look, a pause, or a subtle change in tone can reveal more than 1,000 words. Whether it's ancient rituals, modern cinema, or a casual chat between friends, being a good listener means tuning into what's beneath the surface. So, let's carry this thought with us today, and pay more attention to what's not being said.
Curious Minds. The Science Corner.
Now it's time for Curious Minds, the Science Corner, the place where we explore fascinating science topics in a simple and fun way. Since today's episode is all about culture and communication, I thought we'd look at something truly amazing, how the human brain processes language. Did you know that your brain has a specialized area just for understanding and producing speech? It's called Broca's area, named after the French physician Paul Broca, who discovered it in the 1800s. This part of your brain helps you form sentences and speak fluently. Right next to it, we have Wernicke's area, which helps you understand what other people are saying. What's incredible is how fast your brain works when you're listening. In just a fraction of a second, it recognizes sounds, decodes words, figures out the meaning, and even adds emotion and memory to it. That's why a simple sentence like "I love music" can feel different depending on how it's said, or who says it. But here's the real magic: language is not just limited to spoken words. Sign languages, written scripts, and even body language all light up similar areas in the brain. Our brains are wired for communication, in every form. So, next time you're having a conversation, watching a film, or even reading a podcast description, remember, your brain is working like a supercomputer behind the scenes. It's time for the listener question segment where we answer the thoughts, comments, and questions you had after listening to our last episode on festivals. You had some great questions, so let's dive in. Listener question 1. What was your favorite festival from the ones you discussed in the episode? That's a tough one. But if I had to choose, I'd say the Holi festival in India stands out. The celebration of colors, unity, and joy, it's just something so vibrant and full of life. Sophie, what about you?
Oh, Holi is definitely a top contender, but I think the Lunar New Year celebrations really captured my imagination. The mix of traditions, the incredible food, and, of course, the stunning parades with those beautiful lion dances. It's just such a rich and exciting time for families to come together.
Okay, moving into listener question 2. Why do some festivals last for so many days, like Diwali or Chinese New Year? Great question. Festivals like Diwali and Chinese New Year often have roots in deep cultural and spiritual beliefs. They're a time to celebrate the triumph of good over evil, or to honor ancestors, which is why they can span several days. These festivals are not just about celebration, they also include reflection, prayers, family gatherings, and acts of goodwill. It's a whole process, not just a single-day event. Which of these festivals would you like to attend in the future? I'd personally love to see Songkran in Thailand, the water festival. It looks like so much fun. How about you, Sophie?
Definitely Diwali. The lights, the colors, the food. It just seems like a festival full of joy and togetherness. I'd love to be there to witness it firsthand.
And that wraps up our listener questions for today. If you've got more questions, don't hesitate to send them in, and we'll answer them in future episodes. You can always reach out via our social media or leave a comment under the episode. And that brings us to the end of this episode. We've uncovered how body language speaks volumes, whether it's a confident posture, a nervous gesture, or even the subtle ways we connect across cultures. Thanks for tuning in to the British Accent Podcast. We'll be back soon with a new episode full of insight and conversation. Until then, stay curious, stay expressive, and stay kind.